Good day. This is the Elliott Wave weekly update for the NASDAQ 100, being recorded on Sunday, October the 20th, 2024. I'm going to start here with the 3-year weekly chart. And let me see if I can there you go. Get rid of that, move that box down a little bit. Okay, so starting on the cash market, starting on the weekly chart, just doing a quick review of where we are. So the big picture remains in focus, but there aren't any major changes to be made to it. So let's just go over where we are. So the largest degree that I'm counting within this time frame would be the primary degree. So that's going to be labeled with the green. Right now they are numbers. So we remain within a primary fifth wave up. Primary wave 5 will consist of 5 waves of intermediate degree, of which we have 1 and 2 complete. And this is where I believe we are getting close to completing intermediate wave 3. And within intermediate wave 3, we need to see 5 waves of minor degree, of which we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 done. Puts us in minor wave 5 up, and that will then complete the intermediate third wave and set the stage for a larger correction than what we've seen. And that correction would be expected, according to how Elliott wrote and left us, that the fourth wave, when in progress, will find its terminus, its endpoint, within the price territory of the fourth wave of 1 lesser degree. So intermediate, 1 lesser degree is minor. So we'd be looking for it to come back yet again to those August 5th lows. So we continue to have those in focus, whether we're looking for the completion point of an intermediate third wave, or if under the alternate count, that we're still in the NASDAQ involved in finishing up a minor fourth wave. Now, I've marked it as complete at the August 5th lows, and I'm leaving it there. But the alternate would suggest that, nope, that was just wave A, and we're finishing up wave B. We have yet, in the NASDAQ, we have yet to go above the July 8th highs. So those remain in place as the all-time highs, and that's what needs to be broken for minor wave 5. And it seems that the NASDAQ, the S&P has done that. The Dow has done that. And I think even the Russell has done that. And here sits the NASDAQ, unable. So my point is, it's like we leave that alternate open. I'm not really looking for that at the moment. But what it would suggest is that we don't create a new high. So we remain below 20,691. And from that level, we come down in a minute wave C of minor wave 4. And we come back again to that August 5th low. So the August 5th lows remain in focus, whether we're going to come back down and to finish up a minor 4, or we're going to come down as an intermediate fourth. Now, intermediate wave 5, minor wave 5 would be expected to break above 20,691 and start reaching the levels that we can equate to that minor fifth wave. And as they stand right now, we have one where minor wave 5 would be 1.618 times the length of minor wave 1, and that comes in at 21,021, I'll call it. So that definitely goes up and it breaks the existing high at 20,691, gives it a good push above there. But thus far, the NASDAQ has been totally unable. Now, having said that, we still have some major earnings reports that are going to be due. In fact, we can go over and we can take a look at Apple reports at the end of October. In fact, on Halloween, That's going to be interesting. We have AMD reporting on the 29th. We have Coin reporting on the 30th. So we have a lot coming up right at the end of the month. And we have, let me just kind of pull this out and put it on another chart so I can continue to what we have coming out. We have Tesla reporting on the 23rd. So Tesla reports next week. So that may kick off something. Could kick off downside. I mean, again, just exactly what it's going to be. NVIDIA, I believe, reports at the beginning of November. So we can sit in this sideways mess, really, for a while longer. Let me just double check. We have Amazon, again, Halloween. So we have Apple and Amazon on Halloween, AMD on the 29th. We have Google reporting on the 29th. So again, we have another basically 2 weeks until we start to really get the tech giants, the Mag 7. So I continue to hold fast with the idea that we are within the minor fifth wave, and that we'll get up there either on the backs of Google's or we still have Microsoft, we still have Meta. Microsoft is on the 30th, Meta is on the 30th. So we've got a lot coming in on the 29th, 30th, and 31st. So we could end October with a blast higher or sink. And that's how long I've got to keep this alternate engaged. Unless we start to move in front of those earnings as we start to rotate and get, as traders and institutions start to prepare for year end. Now remember, I'm still looking at my seasonal charts, and the seasonality factor should start to kick in actually 2 weeks. So as we enter into November, it is showing some total true strength here in the NASDAQ. Now, what does that suggest? Well, that likely the massive amount of big tech earnings reports may be quite favorable to the market. So here we sit. So how do we want to play this? Well, right now, is depending on how you invest, to play a move if you're playing it that way in the NASDAQ. So I'm going to continue to look right now that the NASDAQ is in a minor fifth wave moving higher. So let's come out of here and do so that just before though, just give you a key code. The green, again, is a primary degree. So when we see these fibs, those are for the primary fifth wave. And then if we come down to the yellow, which is intermediate degree, these are for the intermediate degree. So right now, we're looking at this. Intermediate wave 3 should find resistance possibly to complete at 22,092. That's where that resistance level gets. And those are pretty high numbers because we can see that this third wave is quite substantially larger. So that's why we get these much larger numbers. And I'm sure if I came in and let's just kind of go through the exercise and just put here 5.618. And we'll also put that in yellow. I think we'll see that we've already gone through it, which we have. So you can see why, we're going in multiples of how we put that up. And I could put, let me just try one additional that are not as common, but they are put in algorithmically. So here we have this one, but that one just takes us back to 20,810, which, by the way, would be a new all-time high, right? The existing all-time high is 20,690. So I'm going to leave this one up there. It's a strange fib, but it is workable. And we see it more sometimes on the lower time frames, but here again, you never know. So I'm going to leave it there as a resistance level, and it's just above, but it does create that new high, 20,840. All right, so let's start coming down and we'll take a look inside this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the daily chart, and now we're up inside. So here we have the minor 4 and the 1, 2, 1, 2. So again, 5 waves within minor wave 5. We have 5 waves of minute degree, of which 1 and 2 are complete, and we're inside the third. And again, this is where it starts to stall out. So if I have this as wave 1 and wave 2, then wave 3 really needs to bust a gut and get itself higher, much higher, because wave 3 cannot be the shortest wave, and right now it certainly would, even if we get up to into these levels. So I may have to kind of come back and redo this as to what actually is it. So it could be this A and could this be B, and we're kind of doing a diagonal. I took it off because it doesn't really fit, but it may, and I may have to stick with it, in which case this would be wave 1, this would be wave 2, this would be A of 3, B of 3, and we're working our way higher in that C of 3 for a diagonal. So I'm going to keep it this way, but with that alternate and how I'm viewing it front and center. Because as we get up closer to start breaking here, we may reach that level. Now, again, if we surpass that, it would suggest that we need to, on an intermediate degree, start to look at the next level up, which of course is 22,000. Now, with that being said, what I do and always will tell you is like how I then view this is it goes by the structure. Minor wave 5 will consist of 5 waves of minute degree. Once I can count cleanly 5 waves up, then I'll start to look for the finishing point for minor wave 5 and then intermediate third. And if it happens to come in here, because of the additional levels that we have for minor 5, and we do the 5 waves, well, then the 5-way structure is complete, and then is minor 5 complete, and intermediate wave 3 will then be complete. These are just guides of possible areas of resistance and where possibly these moves can complete. We already see that the primary wave 5 has got way up in the sky up here at 21,822. So again, as I discussed in the S&P, what we're really running against is, of course, the clock, and we're running towards year end, and then what happens after. So what could be, we could get up that high, but still be in the wave 3. So in other words, we get a dynamic end to October with all of these earnings reports coming out at the end of the month. And that starts pushing us, and we get above 21,000, and we just start to climb. That would rearrange what I'm thinking here and for this third wave. And it could just really ignite it and then rearrange that this is not necessarily the sub, but we could just be subdividing even more than what we're seeing here. So now let's come down out of that daily and let's go down to the 4-hour chart. And again, open this up so we can look inside. So again, A, B, C, possible A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, and we're in wave 5. Minute wave 5. That would be diagonal. I'm not, it just keeps, it holds it down. And I don't want to suggest that the market isn't going to, because again, we still have all of these Mag 7 stocks that are going to be reporting the last week of October. So we got to get through this coming week. And so we do have Tesla on the 23rd. And again, I mean, Tesla's up in the air. Tesla's truly up in the air as to what's going to happen. But the others, such as NVIDIA, such as Meta, Microsoft, Look what we got, Netflix. They loved it, and they just took the stock up $76 on Friday. So, and they got an upgrade. So maybe that'll continue to feed into it. We have, let me see, SMCI. I think they're coming in and they're going to be reporting as well. They're also the 29th. So we have a lot of stocks reporting that last week. And so it's important to bear that in mind and just see how the market wants to react. The market may be skittish right now. So we could sit and just churn for a while here. That's what I'm hoping we don't, but we can. So as best I can come up with right now, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I could do it again, but I'm more inclined to go 1, 2, 3, 4. This kind of, the overlap, it just really gets me, which keeps it, to be honest with you, in my mind, keeps that alternate really front and center. I mean, I don't have the insight into how these companies will report. Will they all be stellar or will they be cautious? We just don't know. So, I mean, I think we can go with a lot of analysts and what they think, but again, I think we have to be prepared for anything. Okay, so, but right now I'm going to do it 1, 2, 1, 2, and we're inside of a third. And I think this could be 1, 2, 1, 2, and another, and just start to count up from there. So this could be the sub, this would be the sub, and then we're just, so in other words, I could put this here and this here, and then we're coming up inside of it. And it should start to really gain traction and go. So we saw, a nice little downturn, but then this is basically Netflix earnings. But then you see we sold off. We sold off at the end of the day or in the last 4 hours. So again, it does present its challenges as to how do we want to view it. But I'm going to remain right now more in favor of upside than downside. And what's going to really trigger, even just looking at the 4-hour chart, actually, I go back to the daily, because what happens, what gets triggered that's really good would signal, we're in trouble and we're going to start heading lower, and the possibility that this wave 4 is going to come over here and this is going to be a C wave down. Well, first, I think of solid break below the 20, which is at 20,031. So we start breaking that. And I think that's going to be our first hint. And how severely, I mean, if they just go down, test it, and jump back up, well, that's one thing. If they come down, break through it, and keep going, well, then 19,680 is the positioning on the daily 50. Now, the 20 is starting to continue to rise after getting caught up in that little bit of a down swift there. Let me just open this up so you can see it. So they continue to be favorable, which is another reason why I continue to look for, we're going to just get this solid, big rally to push us out of all of this and get us above that high, above 20,691. And I think if we can get up there, we'll really start to accelerate. I think it just takes the door off a lot of things. It just kind of just releases a lot of what could be sitting there. And I know that, I'll be checking. And again, right now it's reserved for the trade room, but and then eventually when I'm doing a restructuring of how I want to do everything. And so, yes, memberships on YouTube will become a part of that. And then part of what I'm going to be doing is, like, if you're going for the daily and the weekly, there will be included the discussion on where things are sitting in terms of the options flows, the gamma levels, put walls, call walls, etc., and volatility triggers. Those are important areas because the options trade is what I believe really does day-to-day control what's going to happen in our indexes and our ETFs. So combining all that with the Elliott, would suggest if we can get enough and we break and there is a call wall or there is something sitting right above this, they need to get through it. And if they do successfully push through it, it would then trigger the additional buying that we would like to see as the market then heads up to put the completion point in for the minor wave 5, for the minute wave 3, 4, and 5, for all the way down the line. So unlike the S&P, which seems very defined and has its path to get up to these higher levels and already has been moving to new all-time highs on a very regular basis. We get a new all-time high, a new all-time high. So as it continues to climb, it's the NASDAQ that actually is being the laggard. So again, we might have to wait another week until we start getting that end of October, all of those bigger stocks coming through. Now, just going on here in our daily. So this might change the internal because what it really suggests is wave 5 needs to just blast. You know, wave 3 would not be the shortest, and wave 5 definitely can be the longest. And that would be a gift to this count. If we come in and we start to just really rise and just go. Now, again, we got to balance this out against that geopolitically, we've got some really hot spots that could just truly explode. Yeah, literally, and also just in terms of the severity of the situation. I mean, we cannot forget that, supposedly the reports are showing that North Korea is getting ready to send troops to fight side by side with Russia in Ukraine, which effectively turns that into a world war. Then what happens? Does NATO then have to come in? Because not that NATO, that the Ukraine will get the support of NATO, will get the greater support. Will that prove that the U.S. is going to have to put, as they say, boots on the ground within the Ukraine? We also have the situation in the Middle East between Israel and Iran, Israel and Hamas, Israel and Hezbollah, all really coming to a head. What's going to happen? We don't know. But those could turn things negative if they accelerate, if they explode, so to speak. If we get into a truly broadening war, which would involve both Israel against Iran and then also Russia / North Korea against the Ukraine, and then NATO pulling in. And yeah, we won't go there. But you can see we have these situations that could just really dump. The market will dump as a reaction. So don't know. But right now, if we just focus on NASDAQ stocks, we've got earnings reports next week, which really will, I believe, give us direction in terms of if they're not going to be pleased, then I suspect that we will be dropping. We will drop quickly, and then we'll know that, that minor 4 is not done, and maybe we're going to drop back down to that August 5th low before we turn and rally again. Again, just keeping it, the geopolitical situations outside of the discussion. They're there and they're very real, but they're unknown as to, do they accelerate or do they just stay and we get to a point where everybody's saying, you know what, enough. And we come to peace agreements. All right, back to the NASDAQ. Back down to that 4-hour chart. So again, if I'm just looking at this, I'd be looking for it to kind of accelerate. Let's go over and look at the futures market, which has not been that easy. Now, mind you, there remains, just before I go over there remains the possibility for the NDX, actually for it to be forming a diagonal. I don't really like it, and I switched it back because I was showing it in the futures market, and I took it back And I think, like the S&P, I mean, yes, it's still out there, but I'm not as convinced that that's actually what's going on. So let's go over and take a look at the futures market, which has been very difficult. So everything remains the same. Now let's just take a look from here from the 4-hour so that we can see what is actually happening inside of all this. What we got going on is there's the minor 4. That's the August 5th low. Very clean, very beautiful ABC down. This I need to just upgrade and make them minute rather than minuet. And I will fix that. So now we have a minute degree 5-wave rally, which we have 1, 2, and now we're subdividing again. Now, this is interesting because here we have 1, 2, 3, and it looks like we have a little bit of a very small wave 4 triangle forming here. And if that's the case, we come down in an E wave and we launch. That would be perfect. But then what I would likely do is I would kind of we could launch higher in the 5th and put a better finish to this 3rd, because it has to really start to come. It has to really start to rise. Otherwise, I'm going to have to lower these. And yeah, it'll be interesting because what happens is it turns into 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Still explosion higher. But if I bring it down to the hourly, you'll see the triangle that I'm talking about. So this is, ABCA, ABCB, ABCC, ABCD. Actually, I probably could squeak out, but see, then you got these moves in here and the internals, which really don't fit. But it's taken as a whole, it definitely could. All this overlap. That does look like 5 up. So if anything, I'm looking for a 4, and I got an A, B, and that C doesn't fit. I have to put it down here. So A, B, and then we're coming down, and that's the C down to there, and I can put a small 4 here. 1, 2, 1, 2, launch. That could work. I'm just showing this because it does pretty much seem to be a little bit more. But when I go back over to the NDX is not appearing to be doing the same thing. So what I'm going to do is kind of revert. I'm going to remove that because just as I'm thinking about it, so you get to see live in action, and I'm going to put a 4 right there. So I'm going to change that degree and see if we can't explode higher in a 5th and call this wave 1 and this wave 2. And then what we're coming up in is a 3rd. And then I'm going to lower this degree. And unfortunately, that's going to be a strange little color. But I'm going to have to put it in this kind of darker blue. And I'll actually lower this one little size so we can make the difference. And then so what we're really looking for here is we have 3, 4, and then a 1, 2, both of the 5. And then we have 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. We can get that. As long as we get this acceleration, that's going to be important. And it's truly unknown right now. It really is. Because if I go technically, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Now, add everything else into it. We can come in today and then something upsets the market, and or it could be geopolitical, who knows. We also cannot forget that on November 5th, we have the election. There is volatility that's going to be associated with the election. The result of that election will produce a reaction, a market reaction. So a lot still unknown, and I think that's what holds a lot of it back. So that's the best that I'm going to be able to kind of do in terms of putting a count around it. Again, I'm being honest when I tell you that I'm not as satisfied with the fact that if it is, it still can be that diagonal, which would do a lot of fixing in terms of what's going on. But again, even in that, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, I still need this fifth wave to start to explode, but it's got to do it in an ABC. So it's really, it's a very difficult market right now. Now, intraday, if that's how you trade, well, that one, it has these moves are great to catch. But if you're a day trader and you're coming in to trade the NASDAQ, truly, Elliott does still function. And I'm taking it down to a 2-minute, a 5-minute, a 15-minute chart. It still functions. But in terms of what it is to the bigger picture, you got to leave it alone. And you can do it and you look afterwards because your goal is you want to catch that move. I mean, those are large enough moves and they're hundreds of dollars. And depending on the size that you trade, it could be thousands of dollars. So again, day trading, even on the 15-minute chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I think that could be A and that's a B and that might be a C. And then we get all this garbage, all of this stuff. And that was how we closed and we finished right there. So we're going to find out what we're going to do on the opening today. Okay, so moving averages. Let me go back out to that daily. Well, let's just take a look and open this up. Moving averages are pretty much the same. The 8's just wandering here. The 20's still angling higher because of the pickup, but it could go flat. This one could go flat. So if we weaken, I'm just thinking the 20 and the 50 and possibly even the 200 go flat as we work through whatever the market needs to do. Personally, I am going to look for this upside to truly put in a stellar day. Lead the rest higher. Whether it'll happen or not, we will see. All right, that actually is going to be it for today, for this weekly update. Confusing? Yes. In a pattern that's basically saying we're on hold? Yes. So we'll have to wait and see. The next daily update will be on Monday, October the 21st.